Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. We're gonna start with our Big Idea Challenge 2.0 presentations. It is promptly 1 o'clock, and our first presentation is from Bryan Pijanowski, Addressing the Biodiversity Crisis, a 4-platform Boilermaker solution. Floor is yours.
Thank you. So, as a species, we share this planet with over 7 million other species. And if you read the newspapers yesterday, the situation is rather dire. We have a biodiversity crisis that's confronting society. We have over 1 million species that are at risk to extinction. Some ecologists are calling this the 6th extinction. And we're looking at extinction patterns that are 100 to 1,000 times the background rate. If we don't have these species, then we can't pollinate our crops and feed our people. We can't purify our water and air, and we can't cure vital diseases like cancer. We don't know how to monitor our species that exist in the wild. We don't have the instrumentation or the programs necessary to collect the information at scales that matter. We've known about this crisis for a long time. We've had great scientists like Rachel Carson that put really a great presentation together for how human activities would impact some of the iconic species that exist on our planet. But we're kind of existing in concrete jungles. We exist in cities, and so we're far removed from the problem. And so we don't know, and we're not aware of the problem. The value proposition that we have for you is to build upon the experiences and the programs that exist here at Purdue, and to launch these into great prominence globally. We already have, as a team, $8 million of proposals in review, and we built global networks. What we want to do is put together what we call a 4-platform proposal, a program, where we collect information. We use the Purdue methods of using artificial intelligence and big data tools to explore these databases that we're collecting at scales that matter. And then we're going to move them to the public. We're going to have them experience what it's like to be out in nature and the value that nature provides. And we're going to do this within an organizational platform that's rather unique but builds upon the Discovery organization. We want to also build and have a variety of activities we call missions. The big splash for us is next Earth Day. April 22nd, 2020 will be the 50th anniversary. We want people to talk about Purdue and what we're doing here to help focus attention on biodiversity. We're going to develop minimal viable products that we can move to market that help us to fund our research. And we're going to host convergence meetings where we bring the people together and to have great ideas emerge from these. So our Discovery Park team will be known around the world for providing innovations that reverse biodiversity declines. Our team is uniquely positioned to do this work. We have team members from across 4 different colleges and university centers. We are now partnering with iconic IT firms like Microsoft, IBM, GIS, Esri, Digital Globe, and we're also partnering with global conservation partners. We have letters of support from these individuals. We're also working in the museum space to move our ideas and discoveries to the people that can understand the latest innovations that are happening in the universities. We're working and partnering with academic cyber leaders that know how to take research and cyber infrastructure and provide that to researchers. And then we're working and building upon research partnerships around the world using regional partnership models. And we also have great scholars like Simon Levan, who won the Nobel Prize equivalent in ecology, who's going to help us promote our ideas. We have this individual that runs around with microphones and gets himself into movies and actually makes movies. That's me. The work that I've been doing to help kind of use innovative approaches in IT solutions is gaining prominence, gaining quite a bit of showing up and featured in Science, CNN. Been interviewed twice by our friend there from NPR Science Friday. So we're leveraging the experiences and the variety of tools and databases that are being generated from a variety of projects here. And again, we're leveraging proposals that exist already at the level of about $8 million. So we're going to organize this around an organizational scheme where we're going to work together with our advisory board. We're going to use a backbone organization to propagate our ideas out to a variety of scientists and natural resource managers, and we're going to organize ourselves around each one of the platforms, but the convergence meetings will allow us to integrate across those 4 platforms. What are these 4 platforms? We have a biodiversity platform where we're going to establish sensors and sensor networks. We're going to use a sandbox, Martell Forest, which is 7 miles west of here. We're going to instrument the heck out of the place. And we're going to just put a lot of sensors out there. We're going to learn how to integrate a lot of these information data streams coming in. We're going to develop an analytics platform that's already been described in careful detail in a proposal that's in review right now. This is going to be a huge revenue generator. There are no tools right now to allow us to do this. It's going to be cloud-based, involving and integrating some of the Microsoft tools for AI. We're going to set up a exhibit down at Indiana State Museum. We actually have one down there already, and we have one in Detroit. But we're going to experiment with ways in which we can connect to the visitors. How are the visitors kind of learning from all of these kinds of platforms and experiences that we build? And then we're going to have an organizational platform that integrates the discovery of a normal center, a university center, but also build also from this a for-profit LLC and then a not-for-profit foundation. And I've been working with folks here on campus to make sure that these IP and conflicts of interest issues are addressed. So how are we going to do this? We're going to launch a variety of initiatives across all these 4 platforms, including going out to Martell and then quickly going down to the Amazon, out to Napa, and then out to Africa where we've been working for a couple of years. We're going to design an analytics platform, produce 2 tools. We're going to couple them together and then sell them and then take the profits, and then use those as, we're up, okay, thank you. I guess it's question time.
Thank you for an excellent presentation, and I especially liked the descriptions of your team approach, which is both very clear in terms of activities, but also how they're going to converge. My question is maybe a little bit more general, and that is that it could be argued that the lack of concerted action associated with the impact of human actions on the ecosystem is not from too little information, but possibly from too much information, and particularly around the dissemination of misinformation. So my question really has to do with how will your proposal tackle that specific problem by bringing focus to the types of information and maybe in an environment that at present seems a little bit numbed to the whole plethora of non-concordant facts and data.
So I would agree with you with the general assertion that we kind of know what the problem is. What we don't know is how to solve it and what the relationships are between the human activities and the consequences. In particular, what we don't understand are critical thresholds or tipping points that exist between actions and disturbance and how it's impacting biodiversity. I'm working with natural resource managers all over the world They just don't have this information. What we have to do is collect it and provide the information to them, and at scales that matter, but within the context that they can actually make decisions. So we don't have it right now.
So, Bryan, if may I, so could you tell us a little bit about, you've been working in this space, you've been traveling the world, you showed us the IMAX movie, I mean, you referred to it, I've seen it, fabulous. How is this team and, you know, the support from the Big Idea Challenge, in a sense, going to enable new things that you're not able to do today?
Well, you know, good question. So to be able to develop, for example, this analytics platform, I don't know how to do that. But I've got a team members that know how to do that. I can only go so far, our group can only go so far in using machine learning and deep learning. So what we need to do is use these funds to kind of broaden the impact of what we're doing. I've got lots of lessons learned working in the informal STEM learning space. We can have impact on millions of people readily. They want this kind of information. We know that.
Is your team here with you?
It is. They are. We can have them stand up.
Great. Super. Wow. Terrific. Okay, great.
I have two questions. One is, you have seemingly four elements to this
right.
proposal, each of which are pretty significant activities. How can a grant of the size that is likely in this solicitation allow you to tackle all of that?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. We have proposals in review for each one of those platforms. The Discovery Park funds will help us to put this together as a complete package. It's kind of like the glue. And it's allowing us to kind of leverage the benefits of each one of these. And so the sum of the parts are going to be much greater.
If I could follow up a more specific question. You talk about creating an LLC and a separate foundation.
Correct.
Purdue already has a foundation.
Yes, that's right.
So it's not clear to me why you need another one. And second, I couldn't see anybody on the team that comes out of the Entrepreneurship Center, the Foundry, people who are in the regular business of developing startups. And these are both startups, I think.
So we've been, many of us have been trained in the I-Corps model. Matter of fact, there are several companies that have been started amongst all the members. I've had multiple conversations with PRF, OTC, and the President's Office, Steve Schultz, as of just last week, on how to set all this up. The startup costs are prohibitive for especially the foundation right now. There's just no way to do it. So what we're trying to do is find a new way of doing this. This is building off actually an existing model at the Cornell Laboratory for Ornithology. It exists already. They're bringing in $16 million a year in terms of giving and donations. They have all of these missions. They're saying, let's send out all of our birders to the Yucatan Peninsula and let's see if we can get 1,000 birds in a day. We need $35,000 to do that. They get 50. So they have this crowdsourced mechanism from this foundation. They have friends. The friends are really important people. They're innovators. They know how things can work. They've got their own building. They've been so successful at it for the last 50 years. I'm just saying, let's replicate it here. Let's figure out how to do it, and then take it other places on campus. And this is just, how does a project center work? That's what we have here. It's just lean and mean, and getting through that very start launch has been really expensive. I mean, that's where I started, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to work. So we're going to try this.
First of all, the premise, the way I understand it, is to stop a decline in biodiversity.
Yeah.
So, and to that end, you guys will deploy some analytic tools.
Correct.
And now, what will be the most tangible result of these analysis? And tangible in the sense that, you know, they will increase or stop the decline in biodiversity. So when you do the analysis, those results are supposed to help you stop the decline in biodiversity. So what exactly are we talking about?
Well, I mean, so as an ecologist, I'm kind of trained in experimental design and understanding relationships between stressors and response variables, right? I mean, so the way in which we kind of package it for managers is to be able to say, look, here's where you're at right now. We do forecasts with our tools. This is where you should not cross. Don't go beyond here. And so things like overfishing, overgrazing, introduction of any more invasive species, harvesting, selective harvesting of forests, changing the size of the forest is something that we know is impacted biodiversity. We just don't know what those relationships are. So what we're going to do is provide those to the natural resource
And
managers.
do you guys have some metrics
We have some metrics. I mean,
by which you'll measure the success of your
yeah,
intervention?
so we have metrics that are based, so we're principally leveraging a lot of the work we're doing in acoustics. So we can measure and track the number of species in across all taxonomic levels, which is very, very unique. And then we can identify what we call keynote species. These are species that managers really want to know information about. And we can track those over space and time and look at the relationships between stressors. So the work in Africa, for example, is looking at hunting pressures on chimpanzees and primates. And we can monitor population levels that way.
Okay.
Brian, thank you so
Thank-
much.
Okay.
For our time.
Great questions.